Paper is not my friend. Especially when it's in stacks and it's hard to get out. Does your brain ever just get filled with random thoughts if you see public space information?
That's pretty specific. Did something this happen to you? And yeah, but are you all right, Diego?
The screaming is getting loud.
Okay.
Then I've seen you drive by. You're red. I went to Arcadia today. I got second place for asteroids and I got third for Cooper.
Hey.
Let's go.
What's up, man? I got to like the 7th level of Cooper, I think.
Yeah.
Shoot, man, I was grinding it out, man.
Difficult was to tell once they start throwing stuff that jumps on like every sort of.
Yeah, I know.
The ones that start
And
going
it's
on
like,
like every
at some
side.
point, it's like, you gotta hit each tile twice.
Oh yeah, once you start.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
forgot.
You don't have to care all about missions. You just have to play.
Does he assign
I
them?
feel like the first couple levels. they
What's up?
kinda
Does he assign them?
and then it just gets
Yeah, I think
so
they're
bad.
signed.
It gets really bad.
Because
He told me that you were sitting there. Yeah.
personally, I don't really care if you want to sit there.
No, I don't care. I just forgot.
Yeah, 'cause for my audition,
Assuming I do it.
Not as something that's weird.
I don't think we need it today.
Not as something that's weird.
He usually puts out like a note card that says you need a book, but today we don't.
I forgot to do something.
This is like this is like the half of this unit that like
You must have want to kill myself.
yeah, this is the half unit that like I'm really bad at, and I like forget like the simplest things. Like you could switch to adding to multiplication or something, and I forget that, and it screws up the entire process.
I'm gonna keep it real here.
It's just the stuff we were doing, but like way more crazy.
we're already maxed out on tennis.
Yeah.
I'm in
We're gonna be
10th
maxed out
grade.
on. We're already maxed
You're
out.
10 too, right?
Basically maxed out on bases. We're maxed out on symbols.
Did you like OCA? Or,
I mean, for the most part, yeah.
why'd you decide to switch?
Instruments next year.
Had some trouble with some of the key issues over there. It's more
Oh, I was talking about this.
It's like switch stuff on. Like,
I'll start clapping.
Why do you like FHS?
and then they don't.
It's gotta be really different.
Our band is gonna be crazy.
There's too many.
Yeah, that's crazy. This classroom would be like 20% of the entire activity. It's crazy. But I mean, I like it. It's fun. It's cool. I like the wrestling.
Did you put a shadow on? I have
Are you
like
good?
work.
You ready to go to work?
20 minutes into like
Sure. Going out some free cal?
literally seems like gonna end until the last one.
Today, we were just analyzing the which is like 3 cents.
Yeah.
It's 3 cents.
Wait, I took UConn to the final.
They do.
What do you feel?
And I took Miami to the Final Four.
Wait, isn't
I'm not
it
even joking.
the sword that they
I can show you.
Excited for
I don't know, it doesn't say. It just says it's like 100,000 or something. It says it's like 100,000.
we get back Monday morning.
I did on the March Madness live, Adam.
Oh yeah.
Pushing to get us all.
The Wi-Fi's really bad in here. Wait,
I do like go back to
always like
my graphics kind of bad, but I did.
And they did
Well, for Thursday and Friday, yeah, but Monday we get back at 7.
Okay, I'll show you it.
So we can see before school starts.
Having to like.
Like was
Well, Mr. Lawson was asking.
no, I forgot like the school starts. So that happened. That happened. I was like,
Well, I'm saying, do they have to confirm it or? So they're not? Oh, okay.
All right, our bells are turned off here, but we need to go ahead and get started here so you guys can finish in class. So, before break, we were working on sections 3.3 and 3.4. So 3.3 was change of base and expanding and condensing, and 3.4 was all about solving equations. And we probably could have snuck in that test before spring break, but it was going to be a little bit of a stretch. So instead we took a little bit of our time before break, and so now we need to make sure that you just haven't forgotten this stuff And so that's the plan for today. So the handout you picked up is 97. This one should also be treated as a practice quiz, and it's the only thing we have today, so I do want to go ahead and go over all of it with you as well. But I'd like you to try each of the questions first, just to give yourself some feedback on what it is you actually remember. So don't use your notes, don't ask your neighbor for a hint, just see what you can do, see how you start off, and then that should give you an idea of how you need to proceed. So first thing we'll do is I'll ask you to do at least the first 6 questions, and those are on change of base, expanding, and condensing. Those are a little bit quicker, so I'm not going to give you a ton of time for those 6. We'll go over those 6, let you ask the questions you need to ask, mark up your page so that you can remember what to study, and then I'll give you a little bit bigger of a chunk of time for the last 6, and then we'll go over those as well. The one slight change that we made to our class plan is, instead of just reviewing today and then testing next class, we will be reviewing today with this practice quiz and quizzing next class. So the quiz is like, I don't know, 25 points or something, and it will be a minor grade. Then we'll take a day to go over that, finish up the test review from weeks ago that I gave to you, and then we'll have a 50-point test. So it's going to roll out a little bit slower than I said it was. So of course you want to do well on the quiz next class, but the 50-point test is the one that will be the major grade. That one will impact your grade the most. Yes?
Is it an A week or a B week?
I believe it's an A week.
Do they like change it back or?
I don't know.
We ended off with an A week.
Yeah.
There's more A days than B days.
That's weird. Well, if it's an A week, I'm not gonna be here Friday.
Okay. Friday you will miss the review. So, are you gonna be here Thursday?
You ain't gonna be here Monday either, right? Today is Monday.
No, next
Monday. Right.
Okay, we'll just talk about it later. Okay, so if y'all would try the first 6 questions. Again, just do what you can remember.
for the back, do you want us to leave, like, you know, like, leave a square over something, or, like, do you want us to, I don't know, like, exactly, person.
What was the first option?
I got E cubed over 2.
That's fine. That sounds like an exact answer to me.
And then E squared minus 3 over 2.
That sounds fine too. I don't know if those are the correct answers, but your answer should be looking like that. Our quiz is no calculator, so you shouldn't be using a calculator for any of this, other than maybe checking your answers, which I'll remind you about later. It's just like some people have finished with that part, so let's say 3 more minutes for everyone to try to finish up the first 6. And since this is a no-risk practice quiz, you know, if you forget something, there's no point in staring at it for 5 minutes. Just move on if you don't remember what to do. Let's check off the first few and make sure that you remembered what you're supposed to be doing. Of course, anything that you missed or did not remember how to do would be a question you should probably circle and look back at between now and Wednesday. Okay, so change of base. This is mostly for when you want to type this in the calculator. So like if I wanted to graph this, if I wanted a reminder of what it looks like, unless you know how to use your calculator and everything it can do, you may not know how to tell your calculator to do base 5. So what your calculator can do is base 10. So that would be considered change of base. And your calculator can do base E. So either one of these would be acceptable answers for change of base. Now, the way this is phrased, I would take either one of these on the quiz, but the quiz could possibly be multiple choice on this. So don't just memorize one way when it might be written the other way. Okay, I think that's the only change of base question. So you guys okay with that? The main thing is just not getting these two switched up. Okay, the next 5 were about expanding and condensing. And so there's really only 2 ways to expand, 2 ways to condense. But of course there's a couple minor things about when numbers are in the way and how to deal with that. So on question 2, one thing that you should have considered is that a square root is an exponent of a half. And the reason that's important is because it's an exponent on something you're taking the log of, so the exponent can come down out front. And then one of the 2 ways to expand is division expands into subtraction. So you need a log base b of x minus a log base b of y. And then 1/2 needs to go to the whole thing. So either parentheses or you need to distribute and put a 1/2 in. Okay, if you're going the other way, instead of bringing this number, this exponent down, you need to start off by getting it up out of the way. So you should have brought the 5 up, should have brought the 3 up. And if division condenses to subtraction, then addition is going to condense into multiplication. So they're both log base 2's, so they're going to condense into a log base 2. And you've got an a to the 5th, you've got a b to the 3rd, and because they were separated by addition, when you condense them, they're now multiplication. Okay, 4 is a lot like undoing question 2. So subtraction can condense to division. And I guess you could do one more thing here, because don't we know 54 divided by 9? Okay, and then log base 3 of 6, does this equal 2?
2.
Does it equal 2? Now, be careful, it's not multiplication. It's not 3 times what gives you 6, it's 3 to what power gives you 6. And since we don't know what that is, that's some decimal, we just leave it as is. Yeah?
You accidentally like left it as 54 over 9?
I wouldn't count it off, but again, if it was multiple choice,
Yeah, no.
like, it's probably not going to be written like that. So, okay, and then this one, this might be the exact question we had in our notes weeks ago, but division can expand as subtraction. This is definitely one of the harder ones, because not only can you expand it once, you can also expand it again. Because this is natural log of y squared times z cubed, and multiplication expands into addition. Okay, since we're going this direction, the exponent should come down out front. And I still left off the most common mistake. So what did I not do here? Parentheses. This is minus all of this. When you expand it, it's still minus all of this. Still minus all of this. You either need parentheses like that, or you need to distribute the negative. These two are saying the same thing. They're equal. Now, I didn't encourage this too much when you guys did your book assignment, because sometimes that's just a ton of practice, and to work everything backwards would be a lot of work. But just keep in mind that expanding and condensing are the exact opposite processes. So on the quiz, and especially on the test, if you get this as an answer and you have time, you could condense this, and when you condense this, if you don't get to this, then something should be off. Either you're not really condensing it right, or you really didn't expand it correctly. So hopefully that would at least give you a hint. So consider checking your answers when you're doing a real quiz or a test by doing it the opposite way. Okay, last one, and then I'll take some questions. So if you got the other ones right, you probably got this one right as well. So I'd love to condense this subtraction into division, but I really need this 3 out of the way, and I need this 2 up out of the way. So 90% of the time in math, we bring those exponents down with logarithms, but occasionally we need to bring them up to get them out of the way. So we've got an x cubed first, so it becomes the numerator, and then we've got an x minus 3 squared next, so it becomes the denominator. Okay, so questions 2 through 6, all the expanding and condensing. Any specific questions you guys have, or any of it you'd like me to repeat, Luke?
Can you just go up to please answer real quick? I was pretty sure I had it.
Okay, others? Okay, then one more time, go ahead and try the last 6 to solving the equations. So same thing, there's no need to lean on your notes. This is just a no risk, see what you actually remember to help you figure out what you actually need to study. And just like a real quiz, even if you think you can't finish one of them, do what you think you can do, as if you were trying to earn some partial credit or something. So I'll give you a little bit more time than I did on the first 6, because these are a little bit longer and take some more thought.
You okay?
Yeah, my elbow just popped. Surprised me.
I hate to be your cable guy. Seven's hard, isn't it?
Can you do it?
Did the other ones up?
I'm trying. So.
Where'd you go? Or did you just stay home for spring break?
I just stayed here.
Yeah. Did you do anything fun?
Okay, let's give everybody 3 minutes to try to get caught up with everybody else.
Go anywhere fun to eat or anything? Gator golf. Bowling. Do something fun. Video games?
Yeah, I do that every day though.
Oh.
My wife still has to work, so I can't just like up and leave for a week. I mean, I could, but it wouldn't go over well.
Oh, she has work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like she won't notice you gone.
She wouldn't know during the day.
Exactly. Hang out with the boys. Do you have boys?
I did go watch the Razorback game, I guess,
Nice.
That's fun, yeah.
but not the Kansas one, the other one. The Yukon
Yeah,
one.
I guess not. Nice.
Well,
Yeah, it was
we
not
still
much
have
fun.
2 minutes with you. Sit down.
I got it.
I'm can't do seconds.
Yeah, me neither.
Did you figure it out?
I did a bunch.
It looks so easy.
You probably just didn't think of the first right step.
Yeah, probably. What, do you take the log of both sides?
Yeah.
And I still didn't do it.
Yeah, I did that. Maybe I wrote long without.
Oh, it's probably quadratic. No.
Quadratic formula?
Wait.
I don't know.
No.
No, it couldn't be that. Did you watch any movies?
Any movies?
Yeah.
But you can't factor on N. That's the problem. I don't think you can.
You didn't do anything fun over the break?
Of course I did. I didn't get up early. I stayed up later.
Is that all you look forward to in life?
That's what happens when you get older.
I want to say I think Bank of America is from Saturday.
I know like 90-year-old people that have more fun than you.
No, he's playing you. He's playing you.
Oh yeah, he definitely went to like Costa Rica or something, or
No,
went to Boca or something.
realize all those things cost money.
It's true.
Went on a
Video games
backpacking
cost
trip to
money.
the jungle of Amazon rainforest.
They went to the jungle. I would just say Amazon.
Amazon jungle rainforest.
Jungle Amazon. Dude. He's like, you probably just didn't know how to do the first step. I did the first step. We gotta figure this out.
Did I do log wrong?
So I got log 3 to the x equals log 2 to the x plus 3, right?
Yeah.
So is it log 3 or log base?
Log base 3.
Log base 3?
This?
Yeah.
That's why I'm tripping. I can figure this out.
I don't know how to do it.
Okay, now we got this.
The exponents separate? Or do they?
Yeah, you can probably turn it into log base.
No, that's what it's okay. No, that's okay. It's like,
And then, yeah, I get turned to a little bit stuff. Hard to teach myself.
although you'll see.
Okay, so is it actually supposed to be If you're taking like 3 to the x, it would be log base 3.
You're gonna have to wait. We're going over here. Okay, let's move on, please. Diego, that's you. Okay, so let's check your answers, and I'm gonna jump around here a little bit. I'm not gonna work them all completely one after another in order, partly because I want to just highlight some of the repetition, because there are certain things that are just come up a little bit more. So, saving number 7 for the end. Number 8. Number 8. So even without logarithms, I want to talk about most of these rest of these questions. Even if you did know the logarithm properties, on number 8 you should have at least undid the plus 12, undo the times 2, right? Don't need to know anything about logarithms to get that far. On question number 9, same idea. There's some algebra that you could do before you have to start thinking about logarithms, such as you could multiply both sides by that guy's denominator. That's an improvement because now there's at least not fractions. You could also distribute the 2. What else could you do before that? Okay, subtract 2 from both sides. Then you could divide both sides by 2. So,
Done that at the start.
oh yeah, you could have. Instead of distributing the 2, you could have divided by 2. That's true. But the point is, there's several things that you could have done before you need logarithms. We're going to come back and finish it, but just so you can see, not doing anything logarithm related. Number 10, to do at least one step of this, I guess this one technically needs a logarithm step. So expanding and condensing logarithms are good for a couple of questions here and there. But truthfully, the reason why we learn expanding and condensing at this level is so that we can solve more equations. Subtraction condenses into division. I would be without giving you any unfair hints, I'd be very surprised if you did not have an expand or condense equation to solve on your quiz and your test. We'll come back to that one. And then number 11, you could at least divide both sides by 4. So several of these have a bunch of work that could be done before you have to get into the logarithms. So you want to do as much of it as you can. But back to question 8, I'm going to put a star here because this is going to be a step that I do in the next 5 questions. 5 of the 6 questions needed this step. So if you didn't think of this because of the break, you know, I kind of get it, but you got to make sure that you know this. So if it's in exponential form, you can move the 18 and the 2x and put it in logarithmic form. Completely optional, but log base e is the same thing as natural log. And if you think to switch the forms, the only thing left to do is divide both sides by 2. We okay with that one? Okay. So number 9, I did all that I could do, and now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to switch the forms. Now, this should be optional, but just in my experience, you guys do a better job of switching the forms if you put the constant on one side and the thing with the exponent on the other side. So, logarithmic form, you would need to switch to 2 with the negative x, and then get rid of a negative by multiplying both sides by a negative. The hardest part is remembering that switching the forms kind of helps things fall into place. Number 10, after we condensed, now this isn't exponential to logarithmic like the last 2. This is logarithmic to exponential, but I'm still just switching the forms. The 2 and all of this stuff would switch places. Now, this one's not quite finished, but the logarithm parts are already finished. We can multiply both sides by x. We could take away an x from both sides, and we could undo times 24 with divide 24. So, third question in a row, switching forms was the major logarithm step. Question number 11. This is in logarithmic form. Remember, this is optional, but if natural log, if you still don't feel comfortable with that, that just means log base e. Feel free to make an extra step out of it, but switch it to exponential form and then all you need to do is divide both sides by 2. Now notice the directions didn't say anything about rounding, so I'm not typing this in my calculator and getting a decimal. This is an exact answer. This is better. Unless the directions said round and we gave you a calculator, then just leave it as is. Once you get to x equals, it's good. And then number 12, we couldn't do anything at the start. Notice we switched the forms here. Couldn't do anything to start this one, but we can switch the forms. Undo a +3 with a -3. Undo a ×2 with a divide 2. Doesn't matter how messy or crazy the answer looks. Still basically the same steps as the other stuff. Now, before I work the last question, I do want to remind you guys, so I suspect that there might be a couple of these that you did slightly different, and your answers could look different, and your answers might be okay and they may not be okay. So what I can't do is I can't work every one of these questions out the 10 different ways that people may do them. So if you got a different answer than me on any of these 6 questions on the back, and you don't see a mistake in your work, remember, here's what you should do to check your answers. Now, you don't get to do this on the quiz, but there's no reason for you to not do it today. So let's say you got this as an answer like we did on the last question. If we use this store button right above on, stored in for x, it's supposed to make this original statement true. It's supposed to make the natural log of 2x plus 3 supposed to equal 2. So if it does, it doesn't matter that your answer looks different than mine, and if it doesn't, then something's definitely wrong. So if you can't find your mistake, then you need to have me look at your work today and let me help you. Does that make sense? You guys remember doing that? Okay. So with that being said, number 7 is probably the one that would have the most different looking answers. But as I look through all of these, I switched forms in 5 of 6 of the questions. I don't think that's going to help in number 7. I condensed in question 10. Doesn't look like there's anything to condense in question 7. It's tempting to switch the forms here, but this isn't really exponential form. It's not the right structure. So this is probably the least common strategy to move forward, but sometimes the only way to move forward is to take the log or natural log, your choice, of both sides. Now, if you do log instead of natural log, your answer is going to look different and it might still be okay. It just depends. Why is taking the natural log or the log, either one, of both sides helpful in this question? What does that let me do on the left side?
Lets you put the x from.
Right. Because now it's an exponent on something that I'm taking the log of, so that exponent can come down out front. This is what makes logarithms powerful, that they can solve exponential equations. So what we're solving for, we can get it out of the exponent by doing that trick. Now, we still got a few more steps to go, but remember, natural log of 2, natural log of 3 are just numbers, so I can distribute this number, and that at least gets rid of the parentheses. I could subtract this over, so everything with x's could be on one side. And then the next step, I know you all can do the next step if I tell you what to do, but especially if you're doing calculus next year, you kind of have to see this on your own a lot of times. So I've got some x's here minus some x's here. How do I get this down to just x equals? Factor what? Right. They both have an x, so you can treat that like a GCF. You can factor out a GCF. That's the algebra trick that I know you can do if I tell you to do it, but sometimes you got to see it on your own. And then finally, undo times with divide. Again, I did natural log of both sides, so my answer looks like that. I think if you just did regular log of both sides, it probably looks the same as just regular logs, but sometimes it can look significantly different. So if you think yours is different, looks different and you're not sure if it's right, store it in your calculator, see if it solves the original equation, and if it doesn't, let me help. But again, you guys did a million practice questions. There was that really long book assignment on these type. So I'm not trying to make you practice a ton more of these. I'm really just trying to help you highlight the things you may be rusty on, because you guys haven't done these in a couple week and a half, almost 2 weeks at this point. Obviously, you should put something in your planner about the quiz on Wednesday. The more prepared you are for the quiz, the better that grade will be, and then the less you'll need to study for the test. The quiz and the test are both over 3.3 and 3.4, and then we can finally move on from logarithms after that. So, any questions about the quiz next class? Okay, if you have math questions, then there's still plenty of time, so make sure that you get those answered today. The only assignment that I'm taking up before the quiz on Wednesday is number 93, which is a 3.3 book assignment. I almost forgot about it. So it's a couple weeks old at this point, or 3 or 4 weeks old. So, as always, you can either turn it in before we start the quiz on Wednesday, or you can turn it in the Google Classroom early if you'd like to. Yes?
Is that the one we did?
We did that one.
Oh shoot, yeah. Oh yeah.
You should have it. It's several weeks old. Yeah.
I wasn't,
Yeah, I
you
did it.
assigned it, but you're still
It's
on
just
the
that,
side.
You don't have to do it.
Yeah, we did it last together. I'm gonna like seriously pull that chair back.
But thank you for checking.
Why would you say violence and beach right?
Okay, 17 equations that change the world. How many of these do y'all recognize?
Chaos theory,
You know number 1?
relativity,
Yes.
Pythagorean, yeah.
I don't
I
know.
don't think I could recite some of the ones, but I like definitely heard of several.
Imaginary numbers.
So I put it on.
Stuff.
I put it on here because of logarithms was number 2.
Formula, I know that one.
Y'all
What?
All
y'all do
Relativity, obviously.
y'all do Euler's formula in geometry?
Law of gravity? We don't need that. Gravity wasn't invented until Isaac Newton, and he was kind of a stupid guy, so I don't know why he thought of that, but
Gravity wasn't invented until an apple fell on his head.
I don't think it was maybe measured or
Until then, people were flying around.
I know, and that's why
That's scary.
people in 1900s were like, oh, we're gonna invent flying cars, because we would have undone the laws of gravity.
I don't think anybody in the 1900s said that.
anyway, the purpose of that meme was to show you logarithms are on the same scale as some of the other stuff.
The 20th century is.
Yeah, but gravity was long before, like, you're saying that gravity was invented with Isaac Newton, but I'm saying people weren't flying around in the 1900s.
Are we sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
There was no color before Technicolor became popular in the 50s.
Think
That's all I know.
Panasonic, or Polaroid, whatever that company was.
I don't think it was Polaroid that
I'm trying to
that
follow
made Technicolor.
just the one of you guys in our family.
I'm sorry.
Don't listen to them, they're just making stuff up.
Guess what, Mr. Townsend?
What?
I had the first bike ride of the season, and I went 13
Bro, I'm
miles.
playing every